Hi, welcome to XReality Podcast. I'm the host, Dominic Wu. Each week, we will have conversations with industry leaders to explore the unexpected connections and opportunities between diverse sectors and the world of spatial AI and XR. Today, our guest is Sikaar KEITA. Sikaar is an accomplished professional in tech, innovation, program management with a specialized focus on XR. With over a decade of experience as a technical sales specialist, Sikaar has worked with Fortune 500 accounts, testing, assessing, and advising on the future of technology. Sikaar also dedicates time to mentoring and teaching XR at educational institutions, nurturing the next generation of tech innovators. Sikaar's mission is to integrate technical solutions into ecosystems, empowering people to utilize them effectively and meaningfully. Thank you, Sikaar, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Great to see
Um,
you.
yeah, thank you. And what's your journey of being where you are today?
I'm gonna make the long story a little bit shorter than it actually is. But after I graduated from my high school, I started an engineering, computer science engineering type of curriculum. And after 3 years doing so, we do have a bachelor degree equivalent in France. I decided that I was more made to do business, so I switched to a business school. And from that then on, I always been switching between business type of jobs as well as developing ones. My first job was in a design agency that was focusing on designing perfume bottles. And 1 week after I joined the company, the 3D artist left. And I was young and naive, and I just come up with this idea. Yeah, I can learn to do 3D and I can model those perfume bottles, which is just a nightmare for anyone doing 3D graphics. Perfume bottles are extremely hard to render well because of the glass, because of the juice of the perfume itself in it. But I learned, I went to the bookstore, I just bought a book that was specialized on Cinema 4D, and basically I learned Cinema 4D the hard way. Back then, luckily for me, there was a lot of forums. There was not yet Reddit, there was no YouTube yet, but I was able to learn it, and it gave me a very good glimpse of what should we do and what can we do in 3D and with interactive 3D. Long story short, after that, I've been doing various jobs, and that got me really far away from the 3D world. But I keep gaming on one side, so I love playing video games as well as trying stuff. And further in my career, I've been more of a digital project manager. I've been working in dating website Match.com. I've been working for the equivalent of Amazon, much smaller enterprise, but the French Amazon back then, which was called Pixmania. And I ended up working with a company that has a service which very close to Google Analytics, which is called WebTrends, which was measuring websites' performances. And this was really turn in my career because then I was selling a software to companies and I needed to educate people on a specific technology to for them to use it for real so that they could get the value out of it. And it really changed the way I was seeing technology and how we are sold technology and how we should be selling it, but also getting very deep into the tech. It got me to work with major companies like Air France, like BNP, the bank, and Chanel. So that was something like 12 years ago. And this is from then that I have like very good contact with the brand, and I really love working with them, and I have kept them in my relationship. And long story short, I changed company after that and moved to Oracle. And at Oracle, I just fell in love with XR. And this is something I love to tell, but my first real XR headset, the one I owned, was the Oculus Go, and that was a game changer for me. That was this moment, this haha moment that some people are experiencing right now with the Vision Pro. I experienced it at that time, 2018, I believe, when I put this headset that was without any wires, fully autonomous, that was accessible, meaning for the first time we got something that was 150 euros, so something like $180 probably, and it was a promise that we are gonna reach the mass market adoption for those headsets. And so I decided to join program exactly like yours back then to try to learn how to develop, how does it work, what are the skills needed. And since then, I never stopped. So it started as an intrapreneur initiative at Oracle. Then I turned it into my own company when I was providing consulting and prototyping around the XR industry, which in the end led me to land in Chanel within the innovation team, where I am happy to lead all the tech side of XR industry.
Wow, that is an amazing background because you are from engineering to business. And later on, I know when we were young, we always think, wow, everything is easy. So you jump into do 3D. And later on, you are specialized in every of it. And later on, you start doing a lot of website, product development, and circle back to Chanel. So you have a very interesting path. And I think all the like XR people, before I wrote a book and I interviewed 38 industry leaders, and the majority of the leader, their common point is that they all specialize in a lot of different fields. They probably get in one, like for example, specialize in one field just to get in. And later on, they start learning different skills and becomes like a very versatile. For example, like the designer, if for example, like Paul, he start with the design, but later on he start learning how to prototype, and then he can do like a coding and also do animation and also do the design, and also he before he worked for the architecture firm, so he had all those like interesting background. So I can see like you had a diverse background, which makes you such a unique person, and serving in a very, I would say, a position that not many people can do everything like you. So that's a very interesting journey. So can you tell a little bit about how you see XR transforming in the landscape of branding and customer engagement?
Yeah, so I will answer that in two different angles. First is, what does it mean for the brand I'm working for? So for Chanel, which is a luxury brand, which is also a retail brand in many ways. So we do have stores and we're selling in stores. And it's transforming the branding in many ways, but there is mostly two things that everyone needs to keep in mind. It changed the way we as employee work, and that's probably the most important. And it changed we are selling to customers. And so they come with different applications. The way we use XR and AI will completely differ depending on which use case we are targeting at. Is it for employees or is it for end customers? When it comes for the first ones, employees, it's very good for training and onboarding. And that's something that's, I would say, a given. We know it's all across our industry, and that was probably one of the most used use case. But some things that we tend to forget is really in the onboarding of employees, especially for a luxury brand like us. What is really important is that all our employees knows the story of the brand, are able to convey the emotion that it means to be visiting Place Vendôme in Paris, and so on. And this is really where we see a huge value in using XR, because we cannot have all our employees from across the globe travel to Paris. Even though we'd love to, this is not possible. But maybe what we can do is using and leveraging XR technologies and eventually AI, we can bring them to places where they cannot be. Not also that it has a huge impact at the ecological level, meaning we are also trying to reduce travels, and virtualizing some experiences, some places can help reduce the carbon impact of our activities. And this is something we are really looking forward doing.
Oh,
That's
can
for
you
the
give, yeah, can you give us some examples of how you guys work together remotely using AR or XR and AI to reduce? Is there any
So,
scenarios?
so I cannot be specific, but mostly it's about virtualizing either full product. So I have a new product and I need validation from someone on the other side of the globe. Then let's try to see what part of that can be virtual without sending the product over or without me traveling to see the product. So that would be one
Oh,
first case. The other one would be, can we meet and have a conversation that needs a decision based on any special inputs? Remember, we are a retail company, so there are like store layouts, there are even like products, furnitures. We do have a lot of temporary events all across the globe, and it really helps visualize and understand what is the artistic vision behind it.
So in that case, you mean the more like a virtual collaboration types of um, environment will be the best for you. For example, like Ships XR, everybody jump in and look at something and start pointing out, or Microsoft Mesh. Something like those types of
Absolutely.
collaborative virtual reality types of environment is the best for people to gather together and start putting notes and start discussing.
Absolutely. And the two example you quote would be definitely things I'm very familiar with. Not to say using on a daily basis, but using, testing, and trying also to assess whether or not they are easy to use. One thing that is really important also is that there is still a lot of people that are not familiar with XR. And despite me coming up with the ideas, yes, we could use Mesh, Shapes XR, and Betsy and many others of those, there is still a gap with the employees. A lot of people are not familiar with technologies that we are. And so it takes a long road to help them understand this is the value of a headset, making sure that we use also virtual reality, specifically virtual reality, only for the relevant cases. So if it's just for a normal meeting that we can do over Zoom, there is no need for VR. And this is something I'm really trying to push, only use immersion when it's relevant.
Oh, so I think I know what you are trying to say. For example, if we just want a verbally discussion about something, that we can just use Zoom. But if we jump into the immersive environment, the experience or the purpose need to be worth for everybody to put on the headset, because that
Absolutely.
not many people are a technical person. And may I ask you, like, what types of headset are you guys work or like usually put on? For example, Pico, because I know in Europe, Pico is allowed, not in America. In America, usually we use Quest 2 or Quest 3. Vision Pro, what do you see that Vision Pro play in the retail industry?
The radar industry. So, long story short,
Mm,
I guess we would go with the most deployed headset, which would be obviously Quest 2 and 3 and
mm,
Vision Pro. Pico would be more for really specific use cases. Same goes with Vario and HTC headsets.
mm.
So it's more depending on what we were doing. What I see though is, and it's not just from us, it's a global trend, it tend to consolidate. And the main reason is also like, where are the developers? Who is able to develop something and maintain it over time? Maintenance is a
Yeah.
huge deal when it comes to company. Can I find someone in 2 years that is able to maintain my headsets? And I know from my students, as an example, that maintaining Pico headsets over time can be extremely painful, depending on what is the documentation available, as an example. So that's one thing. Where we see the trend also going regarding Apple Vision Pro, and this is a lot of my personal influence on it. I'm running sessions. I'm putting it on the head of a lot of people within my organization. By the way, I should write something about it, because now I got the feedback to what does it mean to put the headset, the Vision Pro, on the head of 200 people or more for at least half an hour. So it's not like short demos. I always do like long demos because I want everyone to realize the potential it has. But it's still a wonderful development kit, but a development kit. The content is very limited, and right now there is no single application that showcase all the capabilities that it convey, which is true also for the Quest 3, by the way. There is not one application that does include everything. So if I want to educate, I would this showcase at least like 3, 5 different experiences to make sure that people understand this is an immersive experiment. Think about the dinosaurs and what can we do with it as a brand if we want to tell a story about a product, the environment of a product. Obviously, I would look at what the competition is doing. So Gucci did a very good use of the Vision Pro. It's not super interactive, but it's very sleek. It's very well designed, and it conveyed the right emotions. And I was able to get the whole story. I remember the names, I remember the products, which means they hit the spot with this application, which is very brilliant. And also introducing people to other aspects of it. And I believe Apple Vision Pro is really opening new use cases for MR, if we call it this way. I try to avoid mentioning VR, MR, spatial computing, but
Oh yeah, because Apple has a very strict restriction for developer to upload the Vision
yeah,
Pro app. You couldn't call it AR, VR, MR because they just like, oh, we are special. So it's called
yeah,
spatial.
and to be honest, it makes sense. To me, it makes completely sense. If you
Mm,
tried the latest What If Marvel application on Apple Vision Pro,
mm,
it's not about whether it's VR, MR, or AR. By the way, it changed within the application. It's more about it's immersive. It's taking over your space and how you control immersivity. And this is really what matters. In the end, you want people to feel emotion and immersion, and that's it. They don't users in the end, we don't really care whether it was VR, AR, and it's confusing people that are out of the industry, and we should really adopt that vocabulary. So is this app immersive or not? Yes, no, and that should be enough. We take care on the back end of everything else needed. I also really want to mention one thing, because this is one of the feedback I got the most, is beside those experiences which are traditional XR, what people are really impressed about would be very conventional experiences for XR professionals, but it has a huge effect. So the volumetric videos, especially the one from Apple Immersive Videos, I recommend everyone to try the Experience Immersive, which has been updated about 2 weeks ago. And it really convey a new way to watch content and where you feel inside. Technically, it's just a 180 degrees volumetric video. So it seems ages away, but the quality of the screen, the quality of the record itself makes it at a completely new level. And for us, especially in luxury, this is like an amazing way to showcase what we do, to put people in exclusive places where they would never get access in any other way. And I think it's really interesting. Also, the whole onboarding experience of the Apple Vision Pro, the way you set your eyes, your hands, and everything is so slick. It actually, I believe, it redefined a lot of the best practices for XR design. Um, and it's really important. I have to mention one thing. I really wanted to say this device was a bad one. I really wanted to criticize it. When I tried it, I was, this is amazing. They did an amazing job, and I met a few other of those people that really don't like Apple. They want
oh,
to criticize the headset. Like
yeah.
everyone, we were like, okay, that's really amazing. They did an amazing job. I believe also we need to emphasize again the work that has been done. Beside the hardware, there is a huge design, UI, UX work
Yes.
that has been put into this, and that we can benefit from actually, even if we
Yeah.
develop for other devices.
Mm,
So one of the not project but guideline I have is trying to harmonize the way we interact with objects in XR
mm,
between all experiences we could build, whether they're on the Vision Pro, Quest
mm.
3, but also like experiences that might not even need an headset.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
and you were mentioning AI. We see more and more of AI being integrated into websites, and
Mm.
there is options like to use computer vision to guide you through a website, where it's kind of getting to an XR level, kind of.
Mm. Yeah, so just echoing what you said, that Vision Pro really set up the highest standard how UX UI can be. And I really love the concept of how using eye hand without controllers. Because controllers, for example, in the nursing training or in the medical training, you need to use your hand to do the actual simulation. So this controller and remembering all the buttons it's a pain. So just by releasing us from that controller and using our hand to hold to interact, it really break the entire. I would say it's a breakthrough, and the eye hand because you need because the reason why the controller works is because you can pointing something like a long time ago when the mouse was invented and the graphic GUI was kind of open another new page from command line to GUI. And I think Apple changing using the eye. And I know Apple is not the first one, that there were like a previous one, but Apple is kind of more like a highlighting, and it's also forced Meta Quest to kind of follow up. Yeah, so they start having some like an interaction in, and yeah, so Apple Vision Pro really helps us to see what's the highest standard of XR, even though the pricing and the collaboration part, for example, like for education sector, um, if we wanna teach Vision Pro, right? And should everybody get one Vision Pro or just get one and everybody share? And the Vision Pro is not designed for sharing.
Definitely not.
Yeah, because I remember when
I
I
set up the
yeah,
mass.
everybody needs to redo it again and change and do the onboarding again. And it's very hard to share the headset, but it does allows us to see what's the best that XR immersive experience can be. So thank you, Apple, to help us to set up the high standard. Yeah, and also you mentioned that employees onboarding to help like reduce the carbon and reduce the traveling, and also for the Vision Pro helps us to kind of vision like kind of see the highest quality and also help us to remember it because the quality is so high we can actually see that person and remember that person instead of a cartoonish person. Yeah, yeah. So, what do you see about the end user customers? Well, all the customers has all the, for example, Vision Pro. We all know right now is a little bit more in the recession side of the economy. Like, how does like a retail industry like utilize spatial AI or XR AI to help the customer experience.
So if we let aside all this innovation gold rush when every company is trying to be like, yeah, I'm super innovative and doing things. If we're back at the basics, there is not so many people that do have headsets. There is something in the world counting Quest headsets. Quest headsets, I think it's like 30, something between 30 and 50 million headsets maximum. And Apple Vision Pro is less than 500,000. I heard like 400,000 pieces. So meaning like for our industries as a retail industries, customers are not equipped with it and they haven't crossed the bridge yet. So XR as an application running on a headset is not there yet. That being said, if we think of AR specifically, and there is no other way for me than to mention it, but augmented reality running on smartphones, we are talking about billions of devices, something that everyone has, and we have seen examples from IKEA, from Amazon that were directly embedding those things. So I think that AR still has a long way to be exploited as the best way to connect consumers with XR as well as WebXR. And I strongly believe in WebXR as a step. And you were mentioning how we introduced GUI and mouse and keyboard, moving from mainframe to personal computing. The next revolution was moving from personal computing to mobile computing, which introduced like new ways of interacting with your machine, which was a touch screen, which required like new designs, new UIs. And this is where we needed to make our websites responsive. And what I see coming up in the next 5 years is we will need to make our website spatial, exactly like as
Oh,
we need to make our website responsive. Making our website spatials come in twofold. First will be integrate some 3D models, exactly what you've seen in Apple. By the way, if you go to the apple.com, you go to the page of the Apple iPhone 15, you can see in AR the 3D model. It works in your phone, it works in the Vision Pro, and integrating those type of things where literally you can bring things from the website to your place. Definitely we need to get there, but it's not going to be sufficient, because if we do that, we're just doing the first step. And spatial computing is not just about showing things in 3D, but it's also like direct interacting naturally with the website. So we will need also to think our website. What does it mean when I scroll my website by touching it directly? If I want to reduce its size or expand it, how do we stretch it, and so on. And there is so many very fine details that was put into place with the Vision Pro, but I don't look at them from a vendor perspective, more like a design perspective. How do you stretch the Safari window, and what are the limitations you put to it? How does it break my website? Which means I need to think of new resolutions for my website. I need new resolution for my pictures and videos in my website, because people are going to watch those things, especially in the near future. And a website is definitely the entry point and will still be the entry point for a long time.
Yeah, so just echoing what you said, that let's start putting our website special, right? Like putting it in the headset and how the interactions grow. It's very similar to Apple Vision Pro. Start putting your website and see how we can interact the best way. And I remember when I worked at Meta, our director always asks us, "Hey, I've already in the immersive space. I don't need a screen." So he was challenging our team, the entire design team. Every time he asks a question, "Do I really need a home screen? Can we take it out?" And the people are start panic because we get used to that web design, right? Like, oh, there's a bar, there's a icon, and also menu, cursor, everything. But he challenged us that, can we just place the things, everything on the website, and translate that language into more spatial? Yeah, so yeah, so what do you see these types of transition, or like what do you think of this types
Oh,
of like a meta,
that's
very 3D centric?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And on this topic, there is an amazing video that was released last week by Sikaar on why the VR UX experience is broken and how we could fix it. He comes with really nice suggestion. I think we can share the link
Yeah,
afterwards.
cool.
What I believe, and I agree with his conclusion and some of the other meetings I made, but we need also to make sure that we bring along people. So we need consumer to adopt what we do. If we come up with completely new interfaces, we are going to get them completely lost.
Mm.
In retail, this is really surprising always. If you look at what Walmart has been doing, like what
Oh yeah.
Carrefour, so our retailer in Europe, has been doing, most of the time they're just reproducing these big supermarkets in VR, completely useless, because I could have other interfaces. That being said, I am a gamer. I can easily navigate an inventory of hundreds, thousands of items, but my mom cannot.
Mm,
Meaning my mom, it would be probably easier for her, even if it's in VR, to navigate something that looks familiar.
mm,
And when you say the home screen, yes, I hate home screen, and I could completely use an interface that is completely new. That's fine for me. But for most people, they will need something that look like what they are used to. And this is again, and sorry about that, because I don't want to turn this podcast into an Apple advertising, but they did that so brilliantly. I see a huge difference between people that are familiar with the Apple ecosystem
mm,
and people that are not when I put the headset on them.
mm.
Anyone that is familiar with Apple ecosystem, they don't need to think twice. They do simple clicks. They never double click.
Yeah,
So even with their fingers, it means they do a simple pinch, never double pinch.
yeah.
If I ask them to open photos, they know what the icon look like. They are familiar with the whole user experience. And it's really important that in the future and in the design, we split it in two ways, which is what would be the perfect implementation of XR user experience, which would be full 3D, definitely fully diegetic interfaces, and everything that you look at is doing what it's meant for. But most of the public is not ready for that. So we will
Mm,
still need 2D home screens where you can click. We will need like even voice UIs using
mm,
Siri or Alexa or the likes.
mm.
Um, a lot of people are not ready with that. They're not ready to articulate. They are not formulating
Oh,
what they want properly. So we need a lot of post treatment that has a cost on the IT side. So we will need to really like be like, this
mm,
is what we need right now, what for the main public is
yeah,
available is
agree.
ready for,
Mm.
as well as this is where we want to be, and trying
Oh.
to always push the needle and trying to find always the right balance between those two things.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I totally agree with you that consumer usually are when everything was like a become very necessarily, then people start adapting. And the enterprise with the budget always go the frontier and explore the possibility and do all the research. And slowly the consumer will adapt. Just like what you said, that we need to think about consumer. They get used to have a homepage, and then even Snapchat, it took 5 years for Snapchat to train everybody to understand swiping to change the filter. That types of simple gesture, like swiping the screen and change different things. So I think it takes a lot of times for people to adapt. Yeah, so just like you said, that mobile everybody has and people get used to. So for the consumer and experiences, more focused on the mobile, and especially for web XR. It's very easy to share a link and open that website instead of download the entire app, and nobody will use it second times. Yeah, so I think what you mentioned is like a very spot on. And what do you see XR in fashion? Either in, for example, like before we saw some interesting concept of using cryptocurrency, buying some fashion and actually Photoshop on your body, or like some interesting fashion movement in XR. What do you see this trend?
So there is, I think, something I've been trying to fight. I used to love the word metaverse. I tend to not
Mm,
use it anymore at all,
mm,
because it has been like used too much and derived from what it was really meant to be used for.
mm,
For fashion, it's not just about fashion. Has never been about dressing someone. Fashion is about what is the image I want to convey about myself. This is what fashion is about.
mm,
With that being said, it means that XR and fashion will have basically two ways of interaction. Either it's how do I dress up the thing that represent me in virtual world, and this is where we have skins in Fortnite, the way you dress in VR chat, and so on.
mm,
And do I need a brand to be creating something for me, or should it be coming from the creator economy? I strongly believe in the creator economy for that. That's one part of fashion. But we are still humans, we're still animals living in a physical world, and we need to be dressed up. By the way, I put this jacket just for you today, and this is something really really real, and really that exists in this reality. And if I take this jacket as an example, where XR could help me is definitely a virtual try-on to see if it fits, if I like the color, if it match my face. By the way, we could use AI systems as well to get right recommendation of what does fit me in the real world, which jacket doesn't make me look too fat, or make me more buffed or whatsoever, and
Yeah.
make me feel good and make me convey this image. So
Mm,
XR in that regard can really help, and we've seen those magical mirrors in stores. um, we've seen like a lot of applications also trying to replace the retail experience. That being said, if a jacket doesn't fit you, it doesn't fit you, and
mm,
we need to be careful with two things with fashion related. um,
mm,
the web3 the web3 wave have been like trying to pretend we could completely digitalize
mm,
fashion. No, there is fashion that can comes in the digital world dressing my avatar, and that's one thing. And that will be led by the creator economy. There is another part which is fashion in the real world, which will like use some of the parts of the XR to enhance the customer experience and eventually the customer engagement that will help you like choose better products for yourself. And this is really how I see it. And I think we should completely separate the two.
Mm, interesting because I remember during COVID, I saw there was a company, probably Dress X or something, I forgot the name. It seems like their entire business idea was you dress like a Amazon Basic and you take a photo of yourself, but they also have an app and you purchase some very fancy 3D clothes, and then they will at the beginning they will Photoshop for you, and the second one will be you purchase that and later on you can apply the lenses. So a lot of Instagram influencer, they don't have to buy the actual clothes. They can start taking photos, post on their social media. uh, for me, when I see those like impossible dresses, because for digital clothes you can be as creative as you can, so they are selling that. I don't know how they perform right now, but for me, I was more like a, why am I doing this? But it seems like for them, they have a kind of like a reduced carbon, right? And also all the clothes, you don't have to actually make it. So they also reduce a lot of material waste, right? Sometimes people just wear it one time. What do you see about like these types of interesting way of like I would say the avatar trading, like the creator economy?
So for what the specific case of influencers and does a digital clothes replace a real one, I think we should be careful because again, maybe like 10%, less than 10%, let's be honest. 5% of the world population will be concerned by that. Everyone else is still gonna like get real clothes and they're gonna wear it.
Yeah, right.
So we need to be first careful of that. Second, and I love to ask this question,
Mm.
how many skins do you own? We
How,
are in
how,
this industry. You and I, we are in this industry, right?
yeah,
How many skins do you own? How many skins do I own? Do I really have? I don't have that many clothes, like physical ones. Believe
yeah,
me, I have like probably 2 skins maximum in all the different platforms.
yeah.
There is questions of interoperability. There is also the question of what is my avatar like? If I am
Mm,
an orc, if I am an elf, if I am a whatever
mm,
a weird alien,
yeah,
then human fashion doesn't make sense anymore in those virtual worlds. And this is
yeah.
really important. Let me repeat.
Mm,
Human fashion doesn't matter in those virtual worlds.
mm,
Meaning, what's the point of me wearing a Lacoste suit
mm,
whereas I am an octopus with 8 tentacles in
mm,
another world?
mm,
And I believe VR chat is a very good platform. And when you look at the outfit of people, there is much more creativity that is allowed because
yeah,
we are not just like standard humans. You can be anything you want.
yeah.
And you can also, your avatar can be something that is very different from your physical yourself. So
Mm,
this is also why I want to separate those so that
mm,
we can let the creator economy be super creative and
mm,
come up with all the capabilities that are brought by digital.
mm,
And on the other hand, something much more pragmatic, much more close to reality, because we are trying to
mm.
drive people to buy and discover products that they can use in real life.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so as for you, I remember I read some Roblox report about Gen Alpha and Gen Z. It seems like the younger generation, because during that time when they were like few years ago, they were still a student, very young student, because of COVID, everybody stayed at home. So Roblox star becomes super popular for kids to communicate. And according to one of the recent report, it seems like kids cares about their digital image more than their actual physical image. That to be said that they, if they got allowance, they would like to purchase a lot of like a digital, I don't know, fashion this word in the digital, but they would like to dress up themselves buy a lot of things instead of buying the actual clothes in the real world. What do you see these types of phenomena? And according to another research that Gen Z or younger generation are not actually interested in VR, which is like I personally think of maybe we are, or like a more older generation, they are the people that built the generation, that built the technology. So everybody was so into it. But the younger generation, they would rather hang out in the Roblox. So what do you see these types of like a little bit contradict and the generation kind of gap? Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say I don't want to take it from a generational perspective.
Hmm,
I don't think it's how we should see it.
hmm,
You will have like millennials that do have tons of skins and play video games and care a lot about their digital image.
hmm,
You would have like young kids that don't care at all about VR.
hmm,
And I don't think this is how we should split it,
hmm,
especially generation and the studies. They really vary depending on the country and the
hmm,
region in the world where you're in.
hmm,
So I don't want to make generalities because I don't also have all the figures in my head. What
hmm,
I believe though is that people are have different ways and areas when they where they express their identity. And both you and I, we have our identity on LinkedIn,
hmm,
and this is something we worked on. But maybe what I put on LinkedIn is very different from what I put on my Instagram.
hmm,
And what I see is that I still need to have a physicality. So there is still a me in the real world where I need to do things to dress myself and so on. And yeah, I have those, let's say, three identities. I see people using Roblox, Fortnite, any video game, by the way. That's true as well for other main things. They will have an identity, and the way to reaffirm this identity is mostly through the skins and how you dress up and what is your appearance. And so depending on how important it is for you in this specific world, whether the real one, whether the Roblox one, whether the Fortnite one, you will invest where it's the most important for you. And usually where it's the most important for you is where you have a lot of connection or a lot of viewability. So let's say I'm a super strong streamer within one game. Let's talk about Ninja in Fortnite or the likes. Yes, your identity is super important, so you will invest in it. For
hmm,
teenagers, the play field has become the Fortnite and Roblox. So this is where other can see them, they can express them. So obviously they will invest money in it. But Roblox doesn't necessarily mean VR. It's a digital space, a
yeah.
virtual world. You can, by the way, access it in VR, but VR is just a commodity
Hmm,
in which I think to be using VR properly, you need to be a little bit older than just being a teenager.
hmm,
Because as a teenager, you still believe that you are strong, that the world is completely free and you can do anything.
hmm.
Whereas we are delusion people
Oh,
and we know that we got
for
so much more freedom with VR.
yeah.
And I'm joking with that, but I think there is something in there.
Hmm,
For us, we know the limit of the world, and this is
hmm,
why VR is so good because it's opening, it's literally breaking those limits.
hmm. Yeah, very interesting. So you see like people should like it's just my summarize, but you can say if you wanna say more. So you mean that according to different platform, different crowd, everybody develop different ID tellers to this. For example, on LinkedIn, I am serving as a person different from my I would say from my other, for example, teaching or like a profile or some other. As a student, I have another profile. So every types of crowd and also the platform separate us to want to present, and those will be the digital ID. So in that case, you mentioned that for VR is really good for people who know already understand what's the boundary between people and people. For example, we saw a lot of harassment in the VR types of co-creative. I know you don't like a metaverse, but metaverse is easier for me to
Yeah,
explain
yeah, yeah.
that types of
Don't worry.
place. And we got a lot of like harassment. And if we break it down into that, is probably because the teenagers or the more like younger people, they haven't really know what's the boundary between people. And since it's in virtual, it seems like I can just walk through your body, right? So this types of like illusion make them think that um yeah, I mean, it's just a cartoonish, it's fake. If you don't like it, you can just take your headset off. But they don't know that they people owns that there's a personal space. So I think that might be also an issue for the community build. And yeah, so what do you see? Because I remember Mark Zuckerberg mentioned one of Mark Zuckerberg belief is that we should unify. Everybody should only have one ID. And if you have more than one ID, you are not integrated. Or like you are not decent, or you are faking something. So that's why if you see Meta, they want to have a join, or like they want to promote like only one avatar, and their avatar is so cartoonish. I can tell you that my avatar is, it doesn't look like me. And so I really like Apple Vision Pro. Just show my actual face, right? I don't really need to create another additional avatar with all the fancy dressing. I just want to show myself for more like a presentation. But I understand that for people, for example, like in other platform, they want to present themselves the other way. What do you see these types of like, oh, you only can have one ID versus you have different IDs? Yeah.
That's so I'm not talking as my cap as a professional, more the personal aspects. I love the fact that I have only one ID. This is something I've been doing in most of the digital platform. Um, my You can easily find me if you look for Sikaar. This is just literally me. And but I also want people to feel free, not to have issue with privacy. I come from a different culture. I'm in Europe. There is a lot of respect around privacy. We're the first one to regulate everything, so we're not so afraid about losing our privacy. So I don't see any big problem with that. I want to take the occasion also to emphasize how much Meta has worked on this. It's very often neglected. They're always felt as the bad guys, but they put a lot of efforts on trying to understand what it means, um, trying to build an ecosystem that is as healthy as possible. Whatever the main goal is in the end, they try to make something healthy. And they're also the first comers in this industry, especially at that scale. So they literally have to learn while building stuff. And this is really important. Apple is coming in the game after Meta went through the trouble of doing a lot of things. I recently restarted an Oculus Go, went through the onboarding. Believe me, they had everything laid on a long time ago, and it was very well thought from the beginning,
Mm.
knowing that there was no other examples. So that's one thing. About the cartoonish avatar, more specifically, yes, they are cartoonish. I use it on a daily basis. I do VR golf tournaments almost every day. So I see my virtual avatar, my meta avatar almost every day. Yes, it doesn't look like me. That being said, it works perfectly fine and smoothly in daily applications. And one of the reasons why those avatars are cartoonish is because you need and you have millions of people that can join different games using those avatars, and you need the games to still be performing well. So Apple Vision Pro personas are awesome, but the most people I met with, we were three in the room.
Mm.
Last year, I did the Meta Connect with
Mm.
my headset
Mm.
using my avatar. In the room, there was like probably 50 or 100 of us, and it was perfectly smooth. We could watch, we could play mini games, and so on. And we have to keep that in mind, that if we want also XR to reach mass adoption, it needs scalability. Not
Mm.
sure that the Vision Pro is something that provides scalability. So very good. If I take back my cap of working at Chanel, Chanel is still an exclusive brand. So really nice to be using the Apple Vision Pro in this context. But this is not for mass adoption. This is not what I would recommend for my students. Like I recommend them to use MetaQuest 2 because it's a cheap,
Yes.
wonderful device. You can literally do like so many things with it already for a very affordable price now. Yeah, that's still worth it.
Yeah, I remember I also interviewed another doctors in Spain, and I asked him about like a Vision Pro because I thought like, wow, Vision Pro has such a huge, high quality like functions. It's perfectly for the doctor operating some surgeries. And he mentioned he told me that actually all the hospitals in Spain right now using Quest 2. And I asked why, and he said that it's cheap. And I asked like, hey, hospital, suppose you guys have all the budget. And he said that yes, people always think that way, but everyone work in the hospital is actually laborers. The one who earn the money is probably the insurance. And also the other more like a the other way that normally doctor and nurse they got paid more like hourly, right? And insurance get the majority. So I started realize that yeah, sometimes we have our thought like a high level, but actually when we implement like what you said that yeah, like for consumer we focus on AR in mobile, right? And also when teaching we focus on Quest 2, even though we know there are a lot of like high standard
Oh,
stuff,
you're
the cool stuff. Yeah, so it's just the reality. Yeah, and what do you see the future trends for XR and AI in the industry? For example, like in the business, retail, and fashion. What do you see XR and AI? And recently, we have a lot of AI assistant, right? Like, oh, you put an AI, either chatbot or a system. What do you see those types of a system play the role if you want to implement? Like, what's the trend for it?
okay. So that there is a lot of things coming to my mind.
Mm,
First and foremost, the most important thing is XR and AI.
mm,
And what I believe is AI is only a commodity. It's something that needs to be consumed by a front end. ChatGPT is literally a chatbot. So
mm,
you have a front end
mm.
and you're typing text. When you
Yes.
think of the human AI pin or the rabbit, it's
Mm,
just a small device that you talk to and
mm,
AI is underneath. So what XR is the real front end for all the AI backend services. So
mm,
because anything you can do with AI can be consumed by XR experiences. It can be voice, text, videos, 3D, and so on. So it obviously work perfectly well together because XR is the perfect front end for those new devices. So that's the first thing I would put. Where I see the industry evolving is really towards um, I'm trying to find the
mm,
right words. I see the industry evolving towards two main aspects: people that will don't want to use those technologies
mm,
and that still want to keep a human contact. And for those, we're gonna go more with almost invisible technology. So they're gonna be there. There is not gonna be a headset. It's gonna be like very small devices that are not intrusive and are just like helping you doing stuff like through small indications. Um, I really like the work that has been done by Meta on the Ray-Bans, and there is
mm.
another company, I don't have the name right there, but that has been releasing those AR glasses,
Oh,
very small.
frame
Yes.
AR. Oh, yeah. I've been follow their Discord chat, and I was wondering when they can ship the the glass. Did you buy it?
No, not
Oh,
yet,
okay, not
but
yet. Yeah.
definitely watching carefully those. So I see those coming as
Mm,
low intrusive things that can have like specific use case and help you do things, but this is for people that don't want to be like fully tech. And there is other people like super highly tech, I
mm,
guess like you, me, a lot of people you probably have interviewed, where for us it's super okay to be relying on 10 different pieces of technologies, blending them together. And if it gets me faster, more productive, I want to use them.
mm.
and we will use them because basically what it brings me, at least at the personal level, what it brings me to be using the latest chat GPT, like assistance, whatever, it let me do a little bit more things. And as I'm getting older, it's more like it gives me more free time.
Mm,
And so I'm back at getting time for myself, walking in the
yeah.
nature, playing real golf instead of virtual one, and
Mm,
the like. So this is more where I see it from a philosophical perspective. Pragmatically, we can be sure that 2 to 5 years from now,
mm,
we will see more and more QR codes everywhere that provide you
mm,
more insights about the products you want to buy. You will see more and more
mm,
ways to exchange with people that are far away from you. And
mm,
I would come down to what was the first advertising of the Meta Quest
mm,
headsets or the Apple Vision Pro headsets, where basically it lets you experience other things while
mm.
still being connected with other humans.
Yeah, so just like what you said, that right, Ben, right? And as far as I know, that pretty soon, Meta will release their so-called like the wow moment, aha moment for the new AR glass, which was yeah, very cool. That might change the entire industry, and I think in the future we might be doing more like a Google AR glass, that types of things that we can
Yes.
see things and interact things. And just like what you said, that people doesn't like the technology. I think according to Amy Lemaire, she mentioned that why XR is not become the mainstream device is because of 3C's cost, comfort, and content. And I think by changing the AR glass, very thin and just like a normal glass or fashionable glass. And while doing a lot of like a AR function on top of it, we might be able to make it mainstream. Yeah, but it's just an assumption because we haven't really get it. And just like you mentioned that frame AR glass, it's pretty much a small strip, and that is a text thing. So it's pretty much a chat GPT thing and translation things. Yeah, when I saw that, before I was thinking about making some demos out of that. But when I see all the specs, I find out that, oh, the display only has, you only have the super small one and you look like a Harry Potter. That's it. And it's only one eye. It's not even two eyes. So that's kind of like I think we still need to like maybe waiting for big companies to do it, because I know there are startups. It might take a very long time for them to profit and do the more R&D to develop more fully, I would say, capable, at least maybe images or some other forms. What do you see like at the future of AR glass and potentially generative AI? And yeah, and at the end, maybe what can human do? I mean, I feel like AI pretty much can do a lot of things. Yeah.
So yeah, I think those wearables, because this is really what it falls into. We're
Mm,
gonna come down to wearables and specific wearables depending on our usages. I need a VR headsets for certain things, but in many cases, I don't need a VR headsets. Maybe just a vocal assistant might be enough. Like
mm,
exactly like in the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson.
mm,
And so maybe just an AirPod-like device might be enough most of the time. And I
mm,
need to put on my glasses for some things that need visual feedback. That maybe on the day to day, I don't even need those things. So really hard to tell. And maybe when I go in my car, the windshield is equipped with the right whatever is needed. So the way it's going to materialize, it's still hard to tell,
mm,
but it's going to be definitely smaller. And I believe again, and this is Mark Zuckerberg that announced it with the Horizon OS,
mm,
which is like there are going to be more variety of devices,
mm,
and you will use these devices for specific purposes. Just Apple Vision Pro, super good device. You cannot play properly Beat Saber with it.
mm,
Just because you're gonna sweat, it's too heavy, you're gonna move around, it's not gonna work.
mm,
And yeah, we'll need a headset to play like high-paced games. I need something different. If I want to watch my Avatar 2 movie in full volumetric video, then I need something else. So definitely we will see different devices doing different things. And at some point, I hope that it will end up with like 2, 3 devices that will be the main things. A ring as an input and haptic feedback output.
Mm.
There would be something like small form factor glasses, like whenever you need to see something, and something like more an AirPod or alike to get both the mic and the audio output. And Apple is very well positioned to provide with all of that, but for sure, Meta is doing amazing things. I can't wait, by the way, for in a few days we're gonna get the WWDC,
Yeah,
and at the
Meta
end of
Connect.
September we got
Yeah.
the Meta Connect. So definitely, it's gonna be a super good year for announcements that are coming next.
Yes, yes. And at the end, I usually ask one question is that, for example, you are also teaching students, right? So in this like AI raised the bar for the mediocrity. So which means that a lot of students, the younger folks, it's a little bit harder for them to get into the industry or even land on things. So, what do you see, or any ways, or any advice for them to, for example, if someone wanna be like you, working in a pretty decent job right now and have a really promising career, what do you give them some advice? What advice you will give them?
As an advice, so first, I'm super grateful to be where I am, and I think I was lucky. That's one thing. The second thing is I failed so many projects. So literally, I would advise everyone: do things, go out, try to build a company, develop a software, make prototypes. Um, I tried to launch a YouTube channel to teach XR development with Unity. I tried to organize VR golf workshops all across France. I tried to make a jet ski rental support training, so small training, and I failed like so many times. But every time I was trying something, and I learned, I met
Mm.
other people, I confronted to real cases, literally like people telling me, no, we cannot have a headset by the sea because with the salt, with the sun, it's just gonna die. And
Mhm.
yeah, my idea was cool. Yes, I have a prototype, but no. But I learn across the process like a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I'm telling my students the most important is just get out, build stuff, and try it. That's one thing. The other is make a good use of current technologies. You've been like me in this for a long time. The way we used to create XR experience even 2 years ago has completely changed today. It's
Yeah,
like
right.
so much easier. Like just
Yeah.
setting up an XR rig in Unity, if you think 2 years ago and now, it's just
Yeah.
so when I teach to my students, I don't teach them any more specificities, but more systems. It's
Oh.
like what you need is a 3D engine. And I'm going to teach you things using Unity, but you can transpose that to Wonderland engine, Unreal, Godot, or whatever you want.
Mm.
I need you to understand how to model something in 3D.
Yeah.
And the software we're going to use can be SketchUp, can be Blender. But what I want you to learn are the principles, because maybe next year you're going to use something completely different.
Yeah, right. So it's less about the platform or the
Yeah.
skill specific, but generally the entire
Yeah.
system. So yeah, just like you said that, yeah, like the entire industry is changing so fast. And also a lot of professors at my college was kind of worried about, wow, for example, like, oh, I'm teaching Photoshop for 20 years, or I'm teaching a certain software for 20 years. And suddenly within this 1 or 2 years, suddenly like even coding, right? The traditional way of coding and the new way of coding is totally different. So for education sectors, we are still like thinking about, should we teach the traditional coding like, oh, this way, this way, this way, and forbidden student to use ChatGPT and make sure they understand the logic, or we just open for them to use ChatGPT. And if if all the assignment you can use ChatGPT, then all the curriculum is no longer serving any purpose and quiz, because you can copy and paste and you can get the entire answer. So what I propose for the education sector is that instead of teaching the tools, let's teach how to create a good game. Because you see, like even the tool is improved a lot, there are not many good games or not many good apps out there. So instead of teaching like individual little bit stuff, let's teach more like, just like you said, systematic. What's a good game? What
Yeah.
like the overall ultimate goals? For example, like right now we have like a Netflix, right? Sometimes I would feel like, yeah, we have so many convenient AI tools, like can write scripts, can generate videos, but there are not many, TV shows or movies that I feel good. Or like maybe our good standard, good movie is getting higher and higher. But
It
I
is.
feel like, yeah, maybe we can focus on how to create a really good experience instead of how to grade student according basic on these skills. Yeah, that's my thought.
And I completely align with you. One thing, I finished one of the semester I was teaching in, and one of the assignment for the students was, of course, create a game with Unity in VR and so on. But the assessment, the most important part for me was publish the game. You have to
Oh,
publish the game, and believe me, there is no AI currently that can publish a game on any store. It has to be there. And if you think from that perspective,
yeah.
coming back, it means, okay, if you want to publish, for example, on the MetaQuest store, it
Mm,
means that your game has a description, a marketing, and so on,
mm.
but that it's running at the proper FPS.
Oh, yes, yes,
Running
yes,
at the proper FPS means
yes.
you do understand your 3D models, you do understand like so many notions of occlusion culling, like basically everything.
Mm,
But if from the beginning
mm,
you tell them you need to create a good game and publish it,
mm,
then that's probably what we need more. And this is where the system idea comes to
mm,
life. It's really, I'm not asking the students to be able to tell me what are the main classes in Unity or how do you whatever in Blender. It's not
mm.
that, is how do you publish a game.
Yeah, I think this is a great types of like goals, because AI pretty much, if you I recently listened to Khan Academy's founder. He wrote a book about like the future of education. So pretty much the teacher, when I heard of that, I was like, wow, the chatbot pretty much can answer all the questions that students have. And how does the teacher, what can teacher teach, right? For example, like the beginner stuff, the student can have his or her own path, and the chatbot can serve in different way without bias. That the teacher pretty much, sometimes you see like in a class we only can show up once a week, right? And the chatbot can serve anytime, instant feedback. So what can we do? Maybe what we can do is teaching them what's the good experience, more like a higher level. Let's encourage students to create the best product, because there are not many killer apps out there.
Definitely not.
So I think, yeah, so we raise the bar, the tool raise, and we raise the bar instead of the individual independent skills. We see the entire system. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it was a wonderful conversations. Thank you so much
Pleasure.
for Sikaar to join us. And this is for this episode. Thank you for listening. We release episodes weekly. If you enjoy this conversation, check out our other episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Support us by giving us a follow and 5-star rating, or subscribe to our channel and give us a video like. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.